Alright guys, welcome to the first episode of Lone Star Hammered. You have myself, Sweet Lou. I've been playing this game for about a decade, and right now I'm a Texas local. So our podcast is going to be focused a lot on only the Texas meta, looking at even small events, RTTs, up to GTs, some of the majors that we're going to get this next year, because up for 2024, there's going to be a lot here in Texas. And with me today, I have Nick Toomey. A lot of you might know him as Doots. He plays online a lot. And let's get started, guys. So, here on Texas Hammered, we will always be drinking. Tonight, we have a Weller's 12-year. Pretty
delightful.
Good.
Delightful.
It's good bourbon. If you guys have any bourbon recommendations, please leave it in the comments and let us know. So, cheers.
Cheers, buddy.
All right.
What we got?
So, Nick, a couple questions for you.
Hit me.
Let the people know who you are. All right. How long have you been playing Warhammer?
I've been playing Warhammer, so I've been collecting in the game since about 95. So, I'm an oldie.
Damn.
Been playing for a long time. But didn't touch competitive Warhammer until 8th edition dropped.
Okay.
So a couple friends from work got me into the game. I said, hey, is that Warhammer? I used to play that, I used to collect, I got some dudes, and
all right,
we went from there, man. And I've been playing competitive ever since.
So almost 20 years, pretty much here. It's going to be your anniversary coming up soon.
Yeah, I got some old kits, some old models.
You got anything planned for your 20-year Warhammer anniversary?
No, but I probably should.
Yeah, you should get that started.
Yeah, that's important stuff.
All right,
get the actual anniversary out of the way so we can get to the important
So
stuff.
with 20 years, 2 decades, god damn.
Literally
I started I'm significantly, even though I look older than him, younger than him. He's about 83 years old. So
I'll take that.
Yeah, I started playing back in the 2000 95. That is.
Oh, so
95 is a long time.
So you're a millennial player.
Oh, 100%. Okay. Millennial all day. I embrace my millennialness. It's wonderful. So what armies do you have right now?
Well, I've got too many armies.
Okay.
Is the political answer there. But I mostly play Sisters. Sisters is my main jam. Been playing them ever since the old days. I've got probably about around 4,000 points of pewter metal Sisters.
Oh, wow.
Which is, maybe a little bit too much lead intake, kind of the way I am. But the new line came out, and I was like, this is the greatest thing I've ever seen in my life. The new models are so good. So,
nice.
So Sisters is main jam.
Okay.
And then all of Chaos, because Chaos is rad, and being rad is cool. So...
it's up for debate. I'm more Imperial of a fan, honestly.
Well, we can't all be perfect.
Yeah,
so.
That's true. All right, and then so you're playing Sisters right now.
Sisters right now, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, they're doing pretty well right now.
Yeah.
They feel great. It's not your typical Sisters list. There's a lot of, you're kind of incentivized to take an armored style list.
Okay.
Which is, not the standard historical looking Sisters list, but you do get some of the fun toys, especially post Slate, when we might get into that later.
Well, that was my question. How do you feel post Slate with Sisters?
I feel amazing. We got some targeted nerfs, which we absolutely needed.
What was your biggest nerf?
I'm gonna say the Triumph nerf was the biggest one. A lot of people.
I agree with that. I've played against the Triumph. I hate the Triumph so fucking much. Fuck the Triumph.
So you're gonna see that one a lot less.
Yeah.
But a lot of people will say Arcoflagellants got nerfed really hard, and they did. They got a solid 20-point nerf per.
It's a pretty big nerf for that unit.
Yeah. But at the same time, you have to look at the big picture, and look what's happening in the meta in general too, and even just in our own index. Like we had units like Repentia go down, Dominions went down. Big fan of both of those units now. So. Nice. And then the big heavy hitters, Chaos and Eldar, got toned down a little bit. So all in all, I think we skated.
Eldar's win rate though this weekend across the nation was still about 57%, even with their nerfs. And I don't know if a lot of those events were post-slate, but we're focusing on Texas, and they weren't.
Yeah.
They didn't show up. So
Still an A-tier army, in my opinion.
Oh, yeah. 100%.
And what about you, bud?
Right now, I'm doing Votan. Love Votan. Finally got back to it. Originally, first army was Blood Angels. Loved Blood Angels. Played them for a really long time. I don't like where they're at right now. I can't play that army as a melee army. It doesn't work
tough.
well in my opinion. It's really tough. And I'm a meta jumper. Some people would say.
No, you only play casual narrative lists.
I know, right? All my lists now are narrative.
We know.
But yeah, Votan, love them, absolutely love them. Even post slate, they're money. The units that went down were pretty much everything in my army, or the units, that went up were pretty much everything in my army. But I just lost.
Yeah,
one
they
vehicle.
looked at your army. It was like, none of that.
Yeah, it happens. All right, well, now you guys know about us a little bit, so let's start digging into the meta from this last week. Our first event that we have up is going to be Evolution Games, their February 40K RTT. This is going to be in Fort Worth, Texas, guys. So we are going to focus predominantly on players that went undefeated. If somebody happens to do really well on paper or brings a skew army that's not really doing well in the meta, we might focus on them. But overall, we're going to be looking at undefeated players. So from that weekend, it was a 14-player event, and that was a shit show of an RTT, and I don't mean that in a bad way. There were a lot of big hitters in that event. You had people like Kit Smith, who's a pretty big Texas player. You had Justin Moore, who actually won the event. You had TJ Bruce. You just had a lot of people that do really well at majors at an RTT that was only 14 man. So I could only imagine the struggle it was to place first in that event. So congratulations to Justin on that. He was our guy that placed first. I would love to look through his list. I didn't get it in time, and he didn't upload it to BCP. Justin, shame on you. But hey, he was playing Demons. Talked to him a little bit about it. It was apparently a pretty fun list to play. I just didn't get the list in time. So the next person...
Demons got a huge glow up in this data slate.
Yeah.
So it's exciting to see them putting up some results already.
Oh, yeah. And we have another Demons list. We'll dive a little bit more into the glow up that Demons got with this balance slate. But without his list, I don't really want to dig too far into it. The next one that we had was Luke Dougherty, right? And he was playing Adeptus Custodes. So that's another, actually, I think, a pretty decent glow up from the data slate. Custodes got some pretty helpful hits that made them really good. So Luke played, his first round was going to be Death Guard. Then he played Sisters, so he beat up on Nick's favorite army. And then he played into Chaos Knights. So let's take a look at his list. We have a Blade Champion with Ceaseless Hunter. A Blade Champion with Inspirational Exemplar. He had Trajan. Couple guards. So we see 1, 2.
Big 6-mans by the look of it.
Yeah. There.
Big bricks.
I think it's 5-mans. 5-mans.
5-mans? Okay.
5-mans. So 5-man. Is that 5-man? Yeah, no, it's 5-man. Oh, 225. Yeah. It might be a 6-man. I'm going to have to look a little bit more into that.
Okay.
Yeah. Some more guard. Some prosecutors, 2 grav tanks, 3 grav tanks, 2 grav tanks.
Still super good. Yep.
Some wardens, a squad of witch seekers, obviously there to get some objectives and just to be harassing. And then the Calexis, which is an interesting touch. And finally, he had the Lord Inquisitor. So what are your thoughts on this list, Nick?
First off, I mean, relatively standard looking Custodes list. The infantry... it's a little bit heavier in this list, which just kind of makes sense because they did get some points reductions in that data slate. So exciting to see them do well. And I know the Blade Champions and the Grav Tanks were always great choices. So yeah.
I mean, this list, it looks like a melee threat, 100%. Custodes are one of those armies that it's very fast in its own unique ways. They're able to get across the board by charging and getting into combat. They have a ridiculous amount of attacks that put a lot out in combat. They are not to be overlooked, especially with the data slate that came out. Those Blade Champions attached to those guard are going to hit like a fucking train. I also love, personally, that his name of the list was 2 tanks with MFM, so I'm not sure what the MFM is. But he has the 2 tanks. I love those grav tanks. They put out a good amount. Those twin heavy blaze cannons are very reliable, and it really just allows you to have that threat that custodes don't have, which is that cross-board threat. So you have all of those infantry just foot slogging across the board, controlling objectives with very high OC, being that huge melee threat, and then their defensive buffs aren't bad either. They're able to really mitigate their opponents shooting into them until they get there, and then you're just raining down hell with those grab tanks. So I love it. I think this is a great list. So,
and my favorite actually is the inclusion of Kyrie Adraxis in the list.
Oh, yeah.
That Inquisitor. That's a great include. It's kind of a hit or miss if the TOs are going to allow the Inquisitors to join Custodian Guard. I think there's some kind of issue there. Rules as written, but honestly, it should work as it works. But given the unit +1 to hit against Xenos units, pretty decent when there's a lot of Necrons running around.
Yep.
And getting that defense, that kind of 18-inch lone op, can be extremely good for those, kind of, in a way, soft custodian units that really don't want to be soaking up a ton of shots as they move across the board. So.
100%. And I've seen it too, where that 18-inch just doesn't go off. And I love it when that happens, because I'm just like, yes, they set themselves.
You love to see it.
They set themselves up defensively. It's still a really strong unit. I love the fact that he's not that he's running the Calexis.
The Calexis,
That's
yeah.
amazing. I love the Calexis. I think it's a wonderful
awesome
model, and it's just good to see it on the table again. So
style choice,
yep.
Love it.
Love it. I like it. Good job, Luke, and congratulations for getting second. Justin, send me your list. So that is it for that one. Let's go into our next one. So our next one's going to be Etten Games.
Humble Tech.
Super nice place. I've been there before to play. Really like them.
Great guys out there.
Yeah, really good group of gentlemen. So let's knock into it. First place is going to go to Ryan Young. Ryan, thank you. You submitted your list. Unlike Justin, I'm going to keep calling you out, Justin.
Good job, Ryan. Set the standard.
Yeah. But yeah, so he had Gene Stealer cults.
Makes a mean Warhound list. So
Yeah. There is a Warhound list that you can do with Gene Stealer cults. It's dumb, but the Warhound is also a terrible model. we can get into that at another
Only pros
time.
use Warhounds.
Thank God, Ryan, you did not use that. So Ryan had some good matchups. He had Grey Knights. Solid win against the Grey Knights. I think the Grey Knights can be very destructive into Gene Stealer cults with the ability to mitigate where you're able to come in and be able to deep strike in to turn off your ability to respawn your army. They also have enough low, just chaff shots that they can tear through you. The next one was Imperial Knights. I think Imperial Knights are going to come back again. A lot of people don't. Some people are very hesitant on saying Imperial Knights got the buffs that they needed from the data slate, but after playing them, I think they did, just because of the number of models they can bring now. And then the last one is going to be Orcs. That's another one. I would love to know who went first on that, because that's also kind of a dice toss-up, especially depending on the player you play against, because it's really who gets to position their army to deny the other person. So let's tear into
Orcs was already one of those armies that was well positioned in the meta, and I think after this data slate, they got a couple weird hits, couple nice changes as well, but I'm going to be really interested to see how it works too. So it's great that he got a win against them.
100%. So let's tear into your list. So we have an Acolyte with an Icon Ward, a Clamovus. I'm dying. English.
Clamovus.
Yeah, is that how it's Clamovus?
I don't know.
Well,
we're going to roll with that.
We're going to go with Kellamorph. That's an easy word. So he has a Kellamorph. Pretty good choices there. 2 Primuses. I'm feeling like I'm going to see.
Is it Primi if it's plural? Primi?
Primusize?
Primacies.
Multiple Primus. There's 2 of them. And then a Saboteur, which I like.
Yeah, those are great.
Unit hybrids with the demo charges, still extremely effective. That is, I had a conversation the other day with somebody that demo charges are still one of the best weapons in the game, even though they're single use. You just come in, you make your opponent regret forgetting that you can come in within 3 inches, and you delete whatever you see. They're wonderful. So 4 demo charges there, another hybrid squad, 2 demo charges. He's got some flamers in there. And then another Acolyte squad. Holy shit, we're just running all demos. I love it.
GSC, baby.
Some more demos.
Let's get that demo.
And then another one. So we are at
Was that
1,
four?
2, 3, 4, 5 Acolyte squads with hand flamers and demo charges. I love it, man. That's wonderful. I love seeing it. I love when GSC do really well. I love how fun that army plays, being able to move around the table and just make your opponents suffer for even wanting to exist on the same board that you live in.
I think it's cool too that he got redundant with the Acolytes, because every once in a while you're going to have that game where that bad ballistic skill on that demo just hits you weird and you get a terrible roll, and maybe that demo just does nothing. Maybe it kills half a rhino or something.
100%.
And you want that second unit to come in there if you know there's something that you really need to disappear. So I love it. Great choice.
And the same thing with redundancy. That's in a lot of lists. Like, redundancy is key in Warhammer, especially if you have the points. If you bring one and it's really good, try to bring two, because whenever that squad dies, you don't have to suffer for that. And GSC obviously never does, because they come back to life. Granted, they don't come back to life with their single-use items, but they're still just there as that presence. So, 100% agree. And then we have a squad of Acolyte hybrids. Oh, that's another one. Holy shit. So
Neophytes now.
Oh, Neophytes. Yeah. So we have a squad of Neophytes. Man, I was like, dude, this guy's just fucking crushing it with these goddamn Acolytes. But we have the Neophytes, right? Pretty standard loadout with the grenade launchers and the seismic cannons. So looks like we have 1, 2, 3 squads of that. I love it, man. You're playing straight GSC. You're playing all infantry. This is wonderful. With 1 Ridge Runner, I honestly don't think you need more than that. Hide the Ridge Runner well. Keep it in that backfield. Just use that indirect to give you that extra AP that you're just stacking on top of things.
Yep.
And then some allied units. This is a new one that I haven't actually. You don't see a lot in GSC.
I love it.
But he's got a squad of Catachan jungle fighters. So he's got 1, 2 of those.
3.
3. 2 Cyclopses and 3 Toroxes. Awesome. I love it. I'll let Nick explain why he likes it, though.
Amazing stuff, guys. The Catachans come with that scout move, so you're going to get that early board pressure that GSC kind of needs in order to place the rest of their forces correctly on the board. So the Catachans move out. They can be super aggressive, and it's not the end of the world if you lose 1 or 2. And, at the end of the day, you got some flamers in there. You've got 10 bodies, which sometimes that's all you need. If all you got is a blast cannon that's shooting a Catachan squad.
They're OC2 still, right?
OC2. Just cheap unit, great unit, and they come with Toroxes, so in certain matchups where you're going to want them inside the vehicles to start with, there's really no good answer for taking that unit out when it's already scout moved out the board. So
yeah, that's super good. That is, I love it. I love to see when Texas players are able to think through those problems, see how their weak falls and their shortcomings in their army a little bit. And GSC, honestly, is actually sometimes board presence at the beginning of the game, before all your shit comes in. So that actually makes a lot of sense, too, why you were able to just probably crush those knights. Or not knights, sorry, those orcs. So, good job, man.
I would have loved to see that Grey Knight versus GSC matchup, because it's probably just... the mind games would have just been so insane. Like, you move this guy, no, we're going to pull these guys. Or where are you going to deep strike next? Who's got a 3-inch deep strikes? Guess what? We both do.
I would love to see
would have been a fun one.
GSC versus Necrons, too, especially with all the...
With Hypercrypts?
Oh, my God. With Hypercrypt, that'd be insane.
A fun matchup.
That'd be awesome to watch. All right. Well, good job, Ryan. That was awesome. And Ryan Young, too, because we have 2 Ryans on this one. So, still back at the Etten Games over in Humble, Texas. And our second place, the next undefeated, is going to be Ryan again, but Ryan Jewell. So good job, Ryan. He was playing Grey Knights. Once again, another list that I really like to see is Grey Knights, man.
I think Grey Knights players, huh?
I think we have a local San Antonio Grey Knights player, and I tell him all the time that he needs to play Grey Knights because they're fun. There are some bad matchups, just mission dependent. If you get that... what is it? The one that doesn't allow you
Scrambler
to go
Fields?
Scrambler Fields. Yeah,
that can be rough.
Scrambler Fields hurts Grey Knights super bad. But if that's not there, you have an army that is very mobile, can be very damaging, and is just fun to play. So his matchups were against Tau, round 1, and then he had Eldari, And then he ended it with Astra Militarum or Imperial Guard. If you've been playing long enough, you know that they're called Imperial Guard. I didn't like the change of the names. I think it was stupid. I love Imperial Guard.
They're just Guard. They're the Guard. We all know.
I love the name of this guy's list too. Ryan, I don't know if I have met you. Hello again. If I haven't, I love the name of your list. It's just simple. It's 2 Land Raiders, 3 Librarians.
Three Liberians.
Yeah, Librarians. Yeah.
Liberians. Love it.
I love it too. So he obviously had 3 Librarians. Librarians are a really good cheap unit. They can come in very close, put out a lot of damage, and then jump away because they're Grey Knights. So super good choice. You probably had them attached where we're going to look through the rest of your units. Even if they're not attached, though, they can be for 110 points. Their damage output can be very spiky and really good.
Auto take. Windmill slam 3 every time.
100%.
I love it.
Yeah. And then we had Drago.
Of course.
I love him. Drago's pretty good.
It's really going to boost the output of that Terminator squad.
The lore alone on Drago makes you just kind of auto take him. Like,
yeah, I mean,
you just got to get him out of the warp. He's stuck there. That's his life. And if you don't put him in your army, the chapter master of your army is just stuck murdering
Where
demons.
Where you at?
What the hell? So we have, looks like 1, 2, 3, 4. Let it ride. Let's get number 5. 4. Okay, 4 Terminator squads. Looks like everybody has about the same weapons. So we've got force weapons all around, banner, and an incinerator. I like it. Those Terminator squads are super good, especially in Grey Knights. 210 points to bring that big Terminator squad in with a character attached and just nuke whatever they want to. And they're relatively hard to take off the board because they're Terminators. Terminators are not easy to take off the board.
Yeah. And with that Grey Knight faction rule, you're getting perfect positioning every time. So you can really cut corners, cut those tight angles, get the shots you need, and when they're really in trouble, just get them out of there.
100%. So next we have a strike squad. That makes a lot of sense because he's got 2 Land Raiders. So maybe he put the strike squad in that Land Raider or just kept it on the board and jumped it around because he's Grey Knights. So then we have 2 Land Raiders. Love to see it. I think the Land Raider is an underplayed unit a lot of times. I love when people just shit on units. Land Raiders is one of those ones that get shit on all the time. They're like, oh, it's overcosted. It doesn't do what it needs to do. Land Raiders are great.
I love Land Raiders.
They move up the board. They're hard to kill. You put some of those Terminators inside of it, they get an extra 3 inches of movement now. That's amazing, especially for some of those slow, foot-slogging infantry units. Their shot outputs are not bad at all. They get the multi-melta. They have that God Hammer las cannons, and they're just nuking what they want to. And it's that stat check where you put on the board and you say, "Deal with this, or I now win."
So, yeah, exactly. And those las cannons can't be understated. That is some serious anti-tank coming out of those things, and also that assault ramp. That's
yeah.
When you do the math on it, that's basically like an advance and charge.
Yeah.
So you take a couple Land Raiders, all of a sudden your 4 Terminator squads are, in a way, advancing and charging, just because of the way that movement works after you disembark. So
100%.
I think that's a great include. Increases the threat range, and you can play it different ways. If you've got a certain matchup where you really want those guys to be teleporting around, you can leave them out, and it's not a huge deal if they are, because they're not dedicated transports.
Yeah, and the matchups that you're worried about them teleporting around or that you don't want to reserve necessarily half of your army, you can just put them inside of there, and they'll be relatively safe. And then you're easy. You can, with that footprint, kind of hide those Land Raiders, but also keep the guys inside alive. And his last thing that he had the allied unit of the Calidus Assassin. At this point in time, Calidus Assassins, if you're playing Imperium, they're almost an auto take. I love the guy earlier that didn't bring one because I think all of the Assassins have a lot of play. I played an Eversor the other day, and it was phenomenal to play against. It didn't do as well scoring, but for 90 points, especially with how mobile this army is, it's still a good take. It just gets you the ability to say, hey, I have a bunch of stuff that's moving around, it's attacking. Maybe they're not doing my secondary objectives. Here's my Calidus. They'll jump in as well. And then they also can nuke characters sometimes. They're kind of swingy, where they still have precision, and they're just fun to play. So good job overall.
Yep. I don't know how that Calidus didn't get hit in the data slate, to be honest with you. That's a unit that you see in almost of every Imperium list.
Good job, GW. They were like, hey, they have this one fucking thing that they actually really need. Let's not fuck everybody. So strong work. to GW on that one. And strong work, Ryan Jewell.
Good job.
So that was the event of the Ryans. I hope you guys know each other.
Yeah,
You were
get that sorted out. There can only be one Ryan.
Yeah.
So
you guys got
guys.
Yeah, you guys got to at least get in a fist fight or something. Next one is going to be Heroes. This was a local San Antonio one. So the Heroes monthly 40K. So our undefeated players were David Villarreal, local San Antonio guy. A lot of you probably have seen David around. He travels all over Texas. He's a paragon of the hobby in Texas. He loves getting people into the game, and it's really good to see David have a win.
Runs the Alamo GT.
Oh yeah,
Sign up now.
Alamo GT.
Tickets are up.
Yeah.
If I remember correctly, so get on that.
I think they are. Don't buy all of the tickets though, because I still need one. I have to buy that. I might buy that tonight. Honestly,
they're gonna be gone now.
Yeah, fuck.
Cat's out of the bag.
Yeah.
Dude.
Oh gosh. Yeah. And we'll give out a shout out to some of the local or some of the Texas events at the end too as well. But yeah, David he rocked it with Adeptus Mechanicus. The next one was going to be me. So Sweet Lou, Leagues of Votan. I got second, went undefeated. Unfortunately, actually, yeah, I would have won that event if it wasn't for some motherfucker who was able to deny me a lot of primary points, and I only got.
That was a great
74.
game. We had a great game.
It was a great game. Fuck sisters. And then the next one is Andrew Chaplin. Or Chaplin? Chaplin?
Sorry, Andrew.
Andrew, you're a good guy. Hopefully you forgive me.
Imperial Knights.
Yeah, Imperial Knights, though.
There we go.
Yeah.
It's happening.
I love it. I love seeing Imperial Knights. I talked about it earlier. I think there are going to be some big hitters, and it's good to see them here in Texas doing well, going undefeated at an event.
And we've got some strong Knight players in Texas. So I'm stoked.
Yeah, it'll be a good matchup to see who gets first for Texas overall. This was a 26-man event, and let's rip into David's list. So, David played Grey Knights round 1. Honestly, I think it's a hard matchup for Grey Knights. I know I just praised them a lot. There's one thing Grey Knights sometimes will struggle with, and that is anti-vehicle. I know David's list already. It has a metric shit ton of chicken walkers.
El Pollo Loco.
Yep.
That's the name of the list.
It's not, actually. You will love the name of the list. And everybody else that knows David, even remotely, will love the name of his list when we get into it. The next one was going to be Sam White, so he's playing another Votan player as well. That one, congratulations, David, on the win. I think Votan has a lot of ways to tear apart vehicles. So that's an amazing, solid win. Good job there.
A strong player, too.
Yep. And then the last one was Necrons. You beat one of the boogeymen right now. We're going to talk about one of those other boogeymen when we get into our next RTT. But Drakari, in my opinion, is going to be that Necron adjacent kind of like super army right now that's really solidified their S tier spot. But yeah, he crushed Necrons. I watched that game. That was a phenomenal game. He played against Eric, and Eric, once again, phenomenal opponent. And they came down. They're up near Austin, right? Something like that.
Who's that?
Eric. You guys from Fish.
I believe so.
Yeah. So, good job overall, David. Let's go into your list. So, the name of his list, which is phenomenal.
True to form.
True to form. I don't think I've been to an event with David where he has not forgotten at least one unit in his army. So his list was, oops, I forgot my army. He forgot his whole army.
Which was 100% true.
100% true. He called us in the morning and said, I have to go back home and get part of my army, and I guess he didn't get all the models. So he put together what he could, and did great.
Just pulled a bunch of chicken walkers out of his...
Yeah, he just walks around with
something.
With 18 chicken walkers. So we have a Data Smith to start off with. We have a Tech Priest Dominus, and then a Techno Archaeologist. Some really good character options. The enhancement he has is the Logos, so really good there. We have a small squad of Rangers, so just a 10-man, and then a second Vanguard. Now we get into the meat and potatoes of this list. So we have 1, 2, 3. Only 3.
There's more.
3.
Different ones.
Yep, 3 squads of the Las Cannon Chicken Walkers, so the Iron Strider Ballistari, yeah. One squad had 3, and then 2 2-mans. All of them had those Twin Cognis Las Cannons. It's no surprise what they do. They walk around the board and they shoot very, very, very effectively. And they're kind of hard to kill. They have the tools there. They have the higher toughness. They have the wound count. And they have that Is it stealth or do they always have cover? It's one of those.
Stealth, I believe.
It's stealth, yeah. They have the tools to be very durable on the board. Next
and
we have...
You look at that data sheet, too, and you see I think T7, 7 or 8 wounds, can't remember exactly. And you look at the point value, and you're like, this can't be right. 50 points for this model? And it comes with las cannons. These guys are great. And when it works, lay them down. Take some more.
I agree. They're really good. So the next one he's got some robots. So he brought David, the madman that this gentleman is, brought some Castellan robots. I think this might go into part of this is just what I had for the day. Here's my list. But they did pretty well. I saw them on the table. They were very durable, pretty hard to kill. He brought them with the combustors and then 2 phosphor blasters and then 2 fists on each one. So they still had that melee staying power. And they were able to shoot a couple things. He said overall it was probably the least favorite unit in his army. I agree with that. At 200 points, I do think they're extremely overcosted compared to when you have 50 points, you get something that's almost as durable as this robot that you're paying 100 points per model for. Next one, we have some Cataphren Breachers. One of the things that I know are really good are Breachers. The ability to get rerolls if you're next to those, it's either the Vanguard or the Rangers or both. Those heavy arc rifles are very, very effective, and they're not slouches in melee. The claws that they have are able to just tear through a lot of stuff. I love seeing them on the table.
That's a brutal Overwatch too with those rerolls. Yep. Not something that you can move freely around. It's one of those units that even if you are kind of skewing into one part of the index, you kind of want at least one squad just because of what it does to your opponent.
Yep.
Based on where you're going to allow them to move in with what units.
100%. Anytime that you're able to make your opponent play your game, whether that's making them regret some of their movements because you have a good Overwatch coming in with rerolls, or moving your units to stop them from playing what they want to do, which is maybe bring stuff in reserves or bring stuff in from deep strike, or limit their ability to shoot you, you're gonna win the game, right? Because your opponent now has to play around you, not you playing around them. So we have some infiltrators. Obviously, those are there to get some secondaries for them. They don't hit too hard. They just move around the table pretty fast. And now we get into the rest of the chickens. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 units of dragoons. That is 5 units of dragoons. Can you bring? Are they battle line?
I believe they are.
It's under other data slates. I actually think that's a wrong printout on me. No, he is the 1 2-man unit.
I think
it's
there's
a 2-man and then
separate profiles for the different.
Oh, that's what it is.
One of them is
Taser Lances, and then one's with Giselles.
Yeah.
Okay, that's what it is. My bad. Sorry.
Yeah, they're separate. They're separate data sheets with Giselles and Lances.
Okay, that's good to know. Hey, that's my ignorance. I don't actually play AdMech. I did one time on TTS when I was stuck overseas, but they got
new index. They're just making it up as they go.
So. They really are. So he has 2 squads of just 1 man with the Giselles, and then 3 of the Taser Lances. Really love all of those. Defensively, like I said, they're just as tough as those shooting ones, if not tougher. And the Taser Lances can do a lot of damage when they come in. They have that lance profile. They're able to do what they need to do to the targets that they touch, and at worst, they bog them down. You now are forcing your opponent to be stuck somewhere in melee with a unit that's hard to kill. So,
David, I think making some great choices here with unit sizes.
100%.
You're seeing a lot of 1-man, 2-man units with these chickens, which is excellent forethought from David, I think, because when you have this many chickens on the table with this, these large bases, you kind of, you run into that parking lot situation in your deployment zone where a lot of times you can't even use your full movement just because of what you have on the board. But with these little units, you can kind of sneak them around places and get through little nooks and crannies that you might not have been able to otherwise. So
100%. Yeah. And he has that last allied unit, that Calidus Assassin. So once again, Calidus pops its head up. I love it. It's that unit that we don't know how it didn't get bumped on the data slate, but
I'll take it.
I'm super glad that it didn't. You run one as well. Friggin' A. I wish Votan would just align with the Emperor, right? It's okay. They're just dwarves.
Just squat them.
They're a bunch of clones. They need an assassin. The last one we have is Andrew, right? So another local San Antonio guy. We see him at a lot of events, and I'm really glad he got third. He went undefeated. So his matchups were Black Templars. Good job, Andrew, on that one. That can be an insanely hard matchup. Black Templars get a lot of free anti-tank. And their melee threats are present. So good job there. Yep. Next one is going to be Tau. Once again,
Great job.
Tau fucks around in the Knights. Like, the one thing you don't want to do for Tau is be seen. And the one thing with Knights is you don't have enough
You got to come out to play.
You got to come out and play. So good job on that one too. And then the last one is Grey Knights. Good solid win there. Grey Knights score very easily. Like I said before, though, one of their drawbacks is they can have some issue going into anti-tank. And with Knights, that's just where you're at.
You know, at the same time, you never want to have a huge Knight come out of the woodwork, set up an amazing charge, only to charge nothing in thin air because it's a Grey Knight unit that just got picked up off the board. So,
yeah.
Interesting matchup there. Great job, Andrew.
Yeah. Looking at his list, so we have the Knight Castigator. We have a Crusader. Am I missing any?
Castigator, Crusader, Gallant.
Well, I'm just looking if I'm missing any upgrades or any enhancements.
Banner of Macarius.
Banner. Oh yeah, there we go.
We've got the Mysterious Guardian.
The Mysterious Guardian. That's a good take on the Mysterious Guardian. So after that we have 1, 2, 3, 4. Yes, it is.
Yeah.
And then we have 4 Armigers. No surprise to me that this is the list. I like it a lot. Some things that are kind of not necessarily 100% meta, but I think we'll start to move towards that realm. Is that Castigator? I think that some of those rare knights that we don't see are gonna see some play. That thing can be very, very destructive for your opponent. I like seeing the battle cannon a little bit. The firepower in the battle cannon I think is understated a lot. It does have the ability to just peak really well and hurt your opponent aggressively on that Crusader. And then the Gallant, right? That is just a solid choice, especially with the Mysterious Guardian. You're coming in, you're nuking your opponent, and you're making them regret leaving you that spot open. And a lot of times they don't have a choice. And that's one of the things that Knights do really well is they just move around so effectively, especially with that Mysterious Guardian, where you're forcing your opponent to play your game. You're forcing them to move to spots they may not even want to move to, or abandon secondaries just so that you don't have the Mysterious Guardian creeping it.
And that's a turn 1 threat too. If you're going second as the Knights player,
it can be if you.
So
yeah,
you're kind of forcing your opponent to from the tippy top of the game to say, hey, you need to start screening. You need to bring some units out here. We're both going to play this game because if you don't, you're going to have a Gallant in a spot where you don't want it.
Yep.
So.
Usually it's in your backfield. Every time I play against Imperial Knights, I always take their base and I'm like, okay, this is 9 inches away from me. You cannot fit that base. We're in agreement because it scares the hell out of me. I played somebody at a Dallas Open, or not? Maybe it wasn't Dallas Open. It was at one of the GTs here, and I didn't realize that major threat from it, and I let them come in because I thought that I was playing Eldar, so I was being cheap enough anyways, that I could just nuke whatever came in, and it hurt me so much more than I ever thought it was going to. And then I love the Warglaves. I think that's the unit that you need to take. They're relatively well priced right now. They got that bump with the data slate, and you're able to bring these 4, right? You're able to sneak them in that list. You're able to do really well with them. They can move around the board. They can come in from reserves, and they can get you the objectives that you need to get with, especially with that high OC. So good job overall, Andrew.
Yep.
Yeah.
Great job.
Yeah. And then my list, we'll talk a little bit about it. I didn't want to. I just ran Votan. They shot a bunch. People didn't make saves.
I'll talk about it.
Yeah.
Basically down, 1 Sagittar and got an enhancement for your troubles.
Yes. After
the data slate. So, I mean, in my opinion, it's still an A-tier army, especially when you take into account the rest of the field and what happened. As a Sisters player, those bikes and those Sagittars hit hard, especially in Overwatch. Asshole.
Sometimes, yeah, I run the lottery cannons, 6s with the sustained D3. I had
just kill a Castigator,
Yeah,
that's normal.
1 Sagittar killed a Castigator and a Was it an? It was an Armiger. In melee.
Two Sagittars killed 2 Castigators and wounded a Rhino and an Exorcist.
Are you running Armiger?
No.
That was somebody else that was Aaron.
That's how trivial the matchup was.
That was a different player. I played an Imperial Knights player at that event as well, and in melee killed an Armiger with Sagittar. So they're phenomenal. Still love the list. Still love the army. Votan's awesome. So we're going to look at our last event for this week. We have the Minnesota Monthly over in Austin, Texas. Big event as well, 26-man. I love it, guys. Thank you for everyone in Texas that played this last weekend. There's a bunch more events we're going to go over coming up this next weekend. Get out, go and actually play them. It makes Texas the meta that it is. I cannot stress enough every time somebody asks me how I enjoy being in Texas, because I've lived all over the country and I've been able to play in multiple different metas, and I cannot stress enough, and I'm probably going to upset some people from California or wherever. Texas is the hardest meta I've ever lived in. The biggest dick punchers, I think, in the United States either live in Texas or right around Texas. They're able to travel here and come to all of the events, right? We're having multiple huge events here in Texas just for that fact, because it's such an easily accessible area, kind of located in between the East and West Coast, where everybody just comes here to fucking brawl. It's like being in Italy in the fucking Middle Ages, pretty much, where people used to go and like test out if they wanted to actually fuck around, right? It's insane.
Just look at the names. I mean, a lot of these guys are GT winners, podium winners, and, you know, people who show up at the top quite a bit. So you show up to an RTT in Texas, you better come correct, because there's going to be some pipe hitters.
Guaranteed. Most of the people that we went over have either won a major in the last 2 to 3 years or placed in top 10 in the last year at multiple different major events. A lot of big hitters in Texas. So once again, thank you to everybody that played. So let's rock into this last one, Minnesota Monthly over in Austin. 26 man. So our first place, we have a local boy over there, Mr. Da. Congratulations, Da. Dazi.
Great job.
Crushed it, man. That is, if anybody ever meets Dazi, he is probably a scholar and a gentleman that you will never meet the likes of again, and he has been kicked out of multiple crab buffets for eating too much crab.
When in Rome.
Yeah, when in Rome. Then we have Doug Lewis, who came in second place. Doug, once again, an amazing person. And David Hall. David Hall is from that area as well.
Another really strong player. Yeah.
Super strong player. They started their own team up there too, and they're doing really, really well. So good job to those top 3 players, and let's get into their
Probably
list.
one of my favorite teams in Texas, by the way, Metaslayers. Those guys are just all around amazing guys in the hobby. So
I don't think there's any bad teams in Texas.
There's really not.
I can't think of any. I think, and I talked to some other players.
Actually, I'll tell you one. Banff, you got to steer clear of those guys.
Those
guys are a bunch of
fucking
low
clowns.
lives.
Yeah, absolute low lives.
Anyway, speaking of Banff,
besides Banff, Dazi. But no, I do want to say across the board as a culture, I think compared to even 5-6 years ago playing competitively, we've chased out across the world all of those toxic players. And Texas kind of did the same thing, and congratulations to them for now having this super healthy meta where we can have all these 26-man RTTs on a random weekend, and everybody shows up, has a good time, people do well, and we're just able to increase this hobby to what we want it to really be, which is to dominate everything. So, all right.
Yeah, incredible meta, and I mean, honestly, nowadays the game has exploded so much, we've got a GT like every month in Texas now.
We 100% have a GT
amazing,
every month.
Yeah. Awesome scene.
Yeah.
Anyways.
All right. Going into Dot. So we played some... Did he play Sisters?
Hypercrypt.
Oh, Da.
Surprise.
Da. Just as I hated on Justin for a little bit for not submitting his list, you and BCP did not choose the correct army, Da. This gives us bad information. But we were playing Hypercrypt.
Go ahead and put an asterisk on that one.
Yep. Phenomenal job. I personally hate playing against Hypercrypt. It's one of the hardest armies to deal with right now, and you obviously piloted it very well.
I heard it referred to as better Grey Knights players. Or better Grey Knights. So, Grey Knights players.
Yeah.
Let me know.
If you want to jump on, just get some Necrons.
Play Necrons, I guess?
I'm bummed because I sold my Necron army, and I'm kind of glad because I would have jumped on it, and then I would have played Hypercrypt and been really sad when I lost playing a bullshit meta list.
Lou would never jump meta.
Oh, never jump.
Never, ever.
Yeah, that's not...
Played like playing Eldar Botan or something like that.
Yeah. Da did not jump meta, actually. We're going to go over his list and explain kind of why he did something to break the mold.
Couple interesting choices.
So he played Custodes, awesome. He played Astra Militarum or Imperial Guard, and then he played that other boogeyman out in the world, Drakari. And I do want to stress that all of these events from this last weekend were using the data slate, including Drakari. So it's interesting that Da was able to beat them because I think that they can be insanely effective right now. Maybe you can shine a little bit more light on that.
If you haven't heard, okay, Drakari got a massive update in this data slate. Not only did they get a bunch of points reductions across the board, but they got a new index, which is kind of unheard of.
Yeah.
And that index is super, super good. We got some data,
So what's
data sheet changes.
What's the best thing on the index that you think?
Well, okay, so first off, we're talking about Archons joining Incubi now, which is a huge deal, giving them rerolls. Turning a unit that was kind of struggling to get that damage in, now with the increased reliability from rerolling wounds, all of a sudden this unit that was not doing a whole lot is actually pretty scary now. Yeah. And then we're talking about lethal hits with
what happens when they come out of a vehicle and charge?
Well, if you had a strat to get out of a vehicle after it moved and charged, that would increase your threat range by like a whole lot. Especially if your vehicle moves.
But don't they?
Inches.
I was trying to key you into that. They get Lance now.
That's right.
They get Lance with rerolls to wound.
Yeah, that's a pretty big wombo combo when you can get +1 to wound and then rerolls. So.
Yep. It makes that unit insanely. It makes a lot of their army we're gonna see it now. We're gonna see a lot of Incubi attached with Archons, as well as a bunch of Cabalites walking around with Dark Lances, and they have the cheapest. Sagittars were the best transport in the game. I am going to argue very heavily now that they are no longer, and it is Raiders. Raiders are now the best transport in the game, having that Bright Lance, having the mobility, having the firing platform. Yep, being extremely quick. Units inside can shoot out of it. Like they're going to be devastating moving forward. You can bring so many of them so cheaply. It's gonna be amazing to see how it impacts Texas. So everybody out there, watch out for that next boogeyman. It is Drakari. But Da crushed him. Good job, Da. His army that he played was once again Hypercrypt. And we're looking into what he brought. He brought some standard things. We have a Nightbringer and a Void Dragon. Pretty creative, not really.
5-up Field of Pain.
They're amazing.
Gotta love it.
It is. I know why the data slate didn't knock them off. It's that codex was too new. There was no way to justify points reductions with very little information. They didn't pull the trigger on them. Which, good job, bad job. We'll see how that
now,
turns
Lou,
out.
is there a way that you can get these slow moving 6-inch move Satans to get around the board quickly?
Hypercrypt.
Oh, just teleport them.
Yep.
Easy.
Money.
Okay.
Honestly, though, a lot of Hypercrypts that I've seen played don't even teleport them. There's no reason to.
There's the threat of it.
I think Da did, and we'll talk about that as we get into the rest of his list. He had a Locust Lord with the Arisen Tyrant, Resurrection Orb, Staff of Light, a Technomancer with Fulcrum, and then 2 Transcendents. So he is running 4 different Satans, and that is why I think he was able to jump them around the board a lot more effectively than if you're just running those 2 Satans. Hypercrypt right now, with the 2 Satans, whether you're either running Wraiths or a bunch of infantry or whatever it is, those 2 Satans are that mid-board threat that really goes somewhere and says, deal with me, right? Because if you don't own that section of the board anymore. And then they jump around the rest of their army. With Da's list, has those units that you can just jump around the Satans because he's running a lot less by running more Satans. I'm positive that was super fun to play because anytime you're able to play less units, in my opinion, you have a lot more fun during the game because you don't have to remember as much shit. you're able to just be like, oh, you're going to do that? You're going to set up your whole army to kill the Satan? Yoink. Nope.
Yeah.
Like, it can be very fun.
I mean, not only that, but you're leaning into that defensive profile. At a certain point, you could be like, a Jolly Green Giant just waltzing down the board. Like, I don't have to worry about that unit. I don't have to worry about that unit because you're going to do nothing to a Satan.
100%. We have 2 Deathmark squads, just 5-man. Those are obviously there to score some objectives and get him those secondary points that he needs. We have 1, 2, 3 destroyers and a heavy destroyer. Once again, those destroyers, you can put him in random. He's probably walking some of those on. Or deep striking them.
Little 30-point action monkeys.
Yep, they can just walk on in corners of the board. They can get you those investigate signals when you need them. They can get you that engage on all fronts or even behind enemy lines if it's a little bit later in the game. The heavy destroyer, it's there. He has 3 of them.
Medics, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Those go with the Locust Lord for that 5-up sustain hits with reroll hits.
Yep.
Coming out from that enhancement on the Locust Lord. That's brutal.
No, that's insane. It's so many shots.
It's 36 shots, exploding on 5s with rerolls. That's going to hurt.
Yeah.
So, and at strength 6, you're looking at a lot of chaff.
What's the AP
clearing.
on that? Is that AP 2?
It's AP 0.
Oh, okay.
But you're going to be wounding chaff infantry like cultists and sisters on 2s.
Yeah.
So, you roll a whole bucket of dice, you're going to roll some 1s and 2s.
That can hurt. And then we have, it looks like, 2 units of Tomb Blades rolling around the board, causing some hate, obviously, and jumping on objectives. They're really good at doing that, and they're very easy to negate on the outskirts of the board, then come in when you really need them. And then a 6 unit of Wraiths.
I actually love this because...
Really?
Yep.
Okay.
Because a lot of Necron players are kind of leaning into Wraiths, which I think is the wrong answer. Because there are armies out there who can just take care of Wraiths. As a Sisters player, I see Wraiths, I love it. Because
as Votan, I love it as well.
I'm going to absolutely shred them. But with 1 unit, you can push an off objective where there's not going to be a lot of resources from your opponent.
Okay.
And kind of know that they're going to hold it just based off their profile. You kind of go where your opponent doesn't have the resources to deal with that, and then you put the Satans elsewhere.
Okay.
I like it. I like the 1 unit.
I'd agree with that. I like it too. Some big things with this list that I don't understand, and I love that Daw's playing it, because I love when I look at a list and I'm like, how in the fuck? Right? Where is the fucking monolith? You are running Hypercrypt, and there's no monolith.
Monolith is good.
Monolith is good, and it opens up stratagems for your army. I think, though, that we are going to see a lot of Hypercrypt lists because of its mobility, because people are finally seeing, hey, Necrons fuck around too, even with their mobility. They can put that damage output that they're not going to have the monolith. So it may not always be that auto take.
I think if you lean into Immortals, you want that monolith
100%.
because the Immortals are just so efficient that chucking around the board with that monolith in tow, can be super effective. But I think in Daw's case, when you lean into the Satans, maybe you leave it behind.
Yeah, I 100% agree. I love seeing this on the board. I love seeing something different. Good job, once again, Daw, for getting first.
Good job, buddy.
So next one we're going to go into Doug Lewis.
Mr. Lewis.
Death Watch. Here it comes.
What an absolute chat.
I love it. I love seeing Death Watch. It's not an army that you see a lot. I think it's underrated. I think Death Watch is fucking phenomenal. I play against a local Death Watch player frequently, and every game, I'm always like, if I fuck up one thing, I'm going to lose. Because Death Watch have the tools to deal with so much. It's wonderful.
It's kind of like playing Vanguard Space Marines, but if they kind of leaned into melee more.
Yep.
Interesting. Rough game if you don't know what to expect.
100%. So he's running the Black Spear Task Force. He has a Judiciary. He has a Phobos Librarian and a Watchmaster with the Thief of Secrets enhancement. We have one squad of veterans. Oh, man. So I'm gonna butcher this one because I don't actually know all of the different tools that each Death Guard unit can take. Death Watch unit can take. It's one of the great things about Death Watch is they bring these different sort of kill teams that just bring so much to the table in one little squad. We're going to talk about it a little bit. Congratulations on Doug for doing as well as you did, and I apologize if I butcher the actual tactics that I think that you used. So we have another Deathwatch veteran squad. Xenophase Blade, it's there for the melee. We've got the close combat weapons. Some 4 Thunderhammers, right? You're there to deal out those devastating wounds. Thunderhammers, I think, in Deathwatch work super well. In a lot of other armies, I don't feel it. I don't like it. I'm pissed on how they changed Thunderhammers. I think Deathwatch, though, are one of the few that can run it very well. We have the Heavy Bolter, and then just some melee weapons thrown in. We have 2 Rhinos, obviously, to transport some of those guys around. We have a Centurion Assault Squad.
Awesome.
I love it. I think that is a very hard-hitting unit, especially if you bring them in from reserves or something like that where you're not foot-slogging them. But even if you're foot-slogging them, it is 300 points of shoot me and you may not kill all of me, right? So the rest of your army is protected because you're forcing this squad up the middle of the board, possibly. You have an Inceptor squad running the Bolters, and that's a big one. That's a 6-man. Another Inceptor running Bolters as well. An Infiltrator, a Repulsor Executioner. Probably one of my least favorite things to play against. Repulsor Executioners are fucking amazing.
Actually shreds.
Oh my god, it's
you will die.
Phenomenal. You shoot something with the Executioner, you're guaranteed, if not just outright kill it, to leave it on like a wound because your opponent just happened to roll really hot.
I mean, even the little shots, you don't even want to get close to this thing because the Overwatch is brutal.
Yeah.
There's so many shots.
And most of it's rapid fire. So if you get too close, you're like, wait, it's how many shots now? Like, oh, it's a fucking 100? Well, sucks to be me. It's not really 100, but it is a lot of shots. The Inceptor squads, I love them too. I like that you're running the Bolters.
Don't leave home without them, man.
Yep. I think as a Space Marines, you need to bring at least 1 to 2 Inceptor squads just so you have that closer deep strike. I don't like the Plasma much. I like the Bolters. It gives you a lot more utility, and you're able to just come in and nuke some stuff.
Yeah, there's going to be certain matchups and missions where that 3-inch deep strike is going to just win you the game. Mm-hmm. So, having 1 unit of 3, having 1 unit of 6 to kind of bully, and that unit of 3 to kind of, steal objectives, do whatever. I like it. It's good tech there.
And we have a Spectrus kill team. And then once we're getting into the kill team, so these are the you have 5 infiltrators.
It's part of the lore. Nobody knows what they do. It's
I know
we don't have the clearance, so
these are the infiltrator ones. So that one's actually easy. Thank you for not running some of the crazier kill teams that like bring like a fucking bike and a random thing in a kill team that doesn't make sense to me.
Infantry bikes. What?
It makes sense to me running that kill team. It allows you to jump around, especially with that Phobos Librarian. You're able to stay out of range of things you need to and just collect points while the rest of your army does what it does really well, which is purge the foe and kill all of the Xenos. So, good job done.
Not to mention, anti-Xenos. Good time to be anti-Xenos right now. We got these Drukhari and Necron players running around. So.
I think you will actually see a lot more Deathwatch in the meta just because those S-tier armies are all Xenos. And you have the buffs to kill them a lot easier.
Orcs too, yeah.
I don't know if Orcs is S tier. You think Orcs is
I don't know if there is an S tier right now. It's a little early, but they are definitely A tier.
Fuck that, Drukhari. Just on paper, Drukhari scared the living shit out of me.
So I'm going to walk back my previous stance on Drukhari just a tad because I think there are certain armies that will be able to handle Drukhari. I think if you have a bunch of teleporty 3-inch deep strikey stuff.
So Necrons.
Necrons, Grey Knights, maybe Deathwatch. You can potentially really put some hurting on those fragile Drukhari units. That could be a problem. And I think Drukhari really do not want to see indirect, which is going to be way less of a problem post-data slate. Yeah. But
the reason that Drukhari scares me is I don't actually think Drukhari was the worst codex going into the data slate. I think their points were skewed. And I think that they got the same workover that Death Guard did because their win rate was significantly lower than the rest of the field. And because of that, I think that we're going to see, and also, like, those die-hard Drukhari players that may have been playing Drukhari even while they sucked are about to shit on everyone because they've just been struggle busing. Yep. And now they don't have to. So
I look at this army the same way I look at Sisters. Yeah. If you look at before the last data slate, Sisters it was abysmal. It was the worst thing in the world.
Yep.
You introduce some points reductions and a couple little mechanical things here and there. All of a sudden, you have a high A-tier army, which is, I think, what Drukhari are at a minimum looking at here.
So. I agree with that. And we'll see. We'll see how it plays out in the next couple weeks with the data slate. Our last person, last but not least, Mr. David Hall. Let's get him. All right. So he played Chaos Demons. He played Necrons. Solid win. And I know a lot less about Chaos Demons. I just started a new army. I decided it was actually made Death Guard. Hence the picture behind me.
Stinky.
Stinky Death Guard. But I was talking with Nick actually about playing Demons, and he was telling me all the great things about Demons. I just couldn't hobby side fall in love with that with how I paint. So I didn't do it. But I'm excited to see him on the table because I've heard from this man right here a lot of really good things about Demons.
Super excited about Demons.
Yep. So he played Necrons. Then we have him against Death Guard. That's another sleeper, actually, army that I really am excited to see how they do in the next couple months. I played against a Death Guard guy this last weekend, and he said it was his first event, but there were still certain units in his army that really scared the fuck out of me. And I was like, if I don't take this for what it is, even though it's his first event, he could possibly fucking crush me. So really, really happy to see Death Guard there, and good win against them. And then Custodes again. We've already talked about Custodes.
That's a big win in my opinion, because Custodes are traditionally kind of anti-melee, which is all demons have.
Yeah, it is.
So honestly, big achievement there.
You don't think they have like good shooting with like?
There's some good shooting in the army, depending on the list. But at the end of the day, demons are a melee army through and through.
I believe it. I mean, they're demons. They don't have guns. There's not so many guns that exist in that codex. A lot of it's mind bullets.
Magic.
Lightning bolt.
Lightning bolt.
So let's get into his list. The name of it, I love the name too. Demonic Souls, really good name. Good job. We have Bellicor. Auto take.
I mean, there's some theory crafty list without Bellicor, which I really like. But man, at the end of the day, that 18-inch loan up for your entire army is just going to save you some games.
Yep.
Especially if you're going second against some brutal shooting armies.
I would agree.
You love to see it. And he's expensive, but the shooting in melee is actually pretty decent as well. So yeah.
I've experienced his melee. It tears stuff up. It's ripped open land fortresses to like an Avatar. It actually did pretty well too. So
yeah.
A great unclean one with the Endless Gift. I don't know what that is actually.
Huge glow up. Endless Gift is that 4-up Philopane.
Oh shit.
So you park this sucker in the middle of the board, and he is just incredibly tough to kill. And they went down like 30 points, I think.
Yeah, no, that's super low. It's 260 points here. Like that is insanely because 18 wounds with a 4 feeling pain.
Yeah, this is just like a huge Satan, basically. So awesome unit.
Cool. I like to see it there. We have a Keeper of Secrets, Soul Stealer as well. I don't know what the fuck that does.
This is crazy to me. Keeper of Secrets expensive, and you went for the enhancement on this one. Crazy. I imagine that it's going to teleport down that 6-inch deep strike around Bellicor.
Okay.
And just be an absolute terror in melee. But for 300 points, these things kind of go down quickly, so you got to be super careful about how you play them.
Okay.
But great on him for making it.
We have a Lord of Change as well. So he's playing with all the big boys, and I love it. I love
Monster Mash.
We're going after all the gods, and he's coming in hot. And the Everstaff for that. Do you know that one?
Everstave. That's the extra strength and damage.
Oh, okay, cool.
I can't remember if the let's see, Lord of Change is indirect or if that's Kairos. Let me just double check.
I feel like it's Kairos.
No, this one is just straight up damage.
Nice.
Which is great because you're in your cloud of chaos or whatever it's called. This dude is actually putting out that shooting damage that we were talking about that you can add to lists. Some people go without them. Some people take them. I love it as an include. At 285 points, it's not bad at all.
I mean, obviously, it worked. You did really well. He went undefeated, but I think I love seeing all of the big demons on the table.
Yep.
It's fun to see. It's fun to play against. It's fun to play actually in person. And David's a really good person. to play against. Like, he's a great opponent. He's very good at the game, so it's clear that he played it super well.
A lot of players are going to look at this list and be like, what do I shoot first?
100%. A lot of times you don't have a good answer, right?
And my answer to that, you got to be within 18 to do
my
it,
answer to that is whatever gets closest. Honestly, like, you sometimes, like, when you have those... Huh?
Not a bad answer.
I know. You have 4 major threats, right? There's only 5 turns in the game. The likelihood that you kill more than 1 a turn is extremely low. Just shoot the closest fucking one and hope for the best. We have a changeling, obviously, there for that lone op. He gets the ability to do a lot of actions and things like that with the changeling. 2 squads of Nurglings.
Love to see him. That 5 points change did absolutely nothing.
Yeah.
They are still incredible units. You're going to see at least one, I think, in almost any chaos list that can take him.
A squad of pink horrors. I have a question about pink horrors. Do you have to pay for them to split?
Nope.
So they just split naturally?
They just split. They split twice.
So
they'll split into blues and then brimstones.
So this is a 40-man unit.
Basically, because there is almost... Okay. There are very few units in the game that are going to one-shot a unit of pink horrors.
So if I one-shot it, they don't split?
Right. If you wipe the unit out, they don't split.
Okay.
But you have to put serious resources into this unit.
So like...
Or they will... Or, like... Hearthguard, Terminators, whatever, with a bunch of shots. But
it's worth it. Because
you got to put resources into them, and at the end of the day, this is just a battle line unit. So the resources you're putting into them are not going into the Great Unclean One that's taking a shit on your home objective. So,
very good point.
I like the Pink Horror include, and that 4-up invul now works in melee as well. So even the melee threats, they're kind of safe from.
I like how they changed the demonic
cool
save. I didn't like the demonic save when they came out with it, where it was like it wasn't an invul, it wasn't really anything. It was just like you get one or the other. I like across the board. I think it's fantastic.
As a demon player, it's kind of a toss-up. I'm sure there will be a weapon that comes out in some codex that says no more invul saves or whatever. I mean, there already are, right? We've got T-Suns and stuff. So, or did they change that? Either way, great unit. For 140 points, they're a little pricey, but I like the included one.
I like it too. And then the next one is going to be, because there's some other things that I absolutely fucking love too on this list. We have Plague Bearers. Good take, right? Solid, just beefy unit.
I love Plague Bearers. Yeah. Plague Bearers were already pretty good, in my opinion. One of the battle line units that you probably wanted to take already.
Did they get cheaper with the data?
They got cheaper.
Good job.
And it's a bunch of 8. They have like 2 attacks each, AP2 with lethal hits.
Yeah.
They will just kill rhinos. So I love them.
A lot of things kill rhinos.
They got OC2.
OC2 is super good. That's a super strong unit. I know
T5,
they're hard to deal with.
Yeah. Love them.
And then because David is the crazy man and
what a man.
the great genius that he is on this list, he just made all the big shit way better with 2 soul grinders. That's phenomenal. I love it.
Love it.
I've never actually talk about it. I've never played against a soul grinder. I love the fucking model. I think it looks great. It looks like it should do a bunch of shit, but it reminds me of a Defiler, and I know Defilers aren't doing that great right now.
So soul grinders, already a decent profile. For 190 points, you're getting a lot, right?
Yeah.
This is a pretty tough unit. It's got a battle cannon. It's got, I guess these aren't the Defilers, but they've got, as Tzeentch, they have a really cool cannon, the Harvester Cannon. Let me tell you about this profile, because this is going to knock your socks off, I think, a little bit, what this Tzeentch Soul Grinder does.
It did knock David's socks off. He already knew the secret. We are all just learning the secret.
So, Harvester Cannon, 3 shots, strength 10, AP 1, 3 damage. All right? No ignore cover, but you're killing elite infantry if they're rolling 1s.
It's pretty good.
And then you get the Warp Gaze, and this is where it gets real nice. D3 shots blast. Strength 12, AP 2, D6 plus 2 damage.
That's really good. What's the range?
48. Just a cool 48. So
why aren't these everywhere?
We were talking about these shooty demon lists.
Did they go down in points too for the data slate? Because I know demons got like net.
I can't remember if they went down in points or not.
190 seems super fucking cheap
for this profile. I mean, we're talking about toughness 11, 3-up base save with a 4-up invulnerable save. So these things don't just die.
Yeah.
You have to really put some resources in them.
You know what I like about them too?
OC5.
That's pretty good.
So these
That's better than most things at that profile, actually.
Yeah, they're fantastic. It's a great unit, and they are kind of leaning into that shooty side of demons.
Yeah.
With that Lord of Change. So
it definitely helps him where you said they kind of predominantly like melee better. It makes sense now why he played really well in the Custodes.
Yeah, we're not messing around with blood crushers or any of that crap. We're just going to shoot you. And they'll do it.
I like it too. It's one of those models that just has such a huge footprint that you can have two of those in your backfield and secure your backfield. Like it stops other people from coming in back there. So that's really good. So strong work, David. I really like that list.
Love it.
Yeah. And good work, man. Good work all around to everybody. Well, guys, that's pretty much the end of our first podcast. Thank you all for listening. Real quick, we're going to give some shout-outs. So we have some events coming up. Obviously, as he mentioned, we have some GTs. We have the Clutch GT that's coming up. After that, we have the... what's the Dome one? Sorry for this.
War Dome, I think.
War Dome, yep.
My
War
first
Dome
time hearing about it, but it's April, I think.
Yeah. I already have my ticket for War Dome. I'm super excited. I heard it's going to be a real good event. I'm super excited for Clutch as well. Then after that,
Clutch said he's great.
We have Alamo, and we'll update you guys pretty much past Alamo because I don't think everybody else's tickets are out for sale yet. But all three of those, their tickets are out. I actually think Clutch is completely sold out, and they have a wait list now.
Yeah, congratulations, Colin. By the way, amazing.
Good job. I loved the event last year. It's going to be at the same spot. Super cheap food, super cheap beer. That's all super tasty. So that's a wonderful event to go to. We will update you guys once everything's done there. And then we have some RTTs coming up next week. So we have the Battlegrounds Monthly in Belton, Texas. We have the TGP Heartbreak Hoedown. God damn, I love these names. Abilene, Texas. We have the Forge February RTT in Houston. I've been there before. I love the Forge.
Bunch of pipe hitters over there. Yep.
We have the Texas Toy Soldier Valentine's Dangerous Duos. Wow, that's a heart.
That's a mouthful.
Yeah, Jesus. In Carrollton, Texas, we have the Midland 40K in Midland, Texas. We have the...
Thanks for keeping it simple.
Yeah, Brigandry in Monthly in Greenville, Texas. And we have the 40K at Dragon's Lair in Austin, Texas. Man, that is a lot of events to go over. I love it, guys. Congratulations to Texas. Please continue to come and watch us every week. We're going to be going over each one of these every single week. So that's 7 for us next week. Good luck to everybody that's going to play. Congratulations to all the winner from this last weekend. And come back and see us again, guys.
Yeah, we'll see you out there.